Listen, bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. Somebody left me a comment and they said, Mr. Keep It Simple, I lost my job. I was sick for a week and I didn't show up to work for a week. Let me tell you guys something. When I tell you guys stay focused before you end up homeless, I really mean that. Anybody can lose a job. Anybody could lose a source of income. Anybody could lose resources, but no matter what, you have to stay in the fight. And my advice is this: if you're sick and you don't have any sick time, show up to work and let them send you home. And I'm going to say this again. If you're sick and you're in your probation period and you don't have any sick time, still show up to work. Even if you got to over exaggerate it, do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, still show up to work. In this economy right now, if you have a job, you got to hold on to that. You got to protect that. You got to do what you got to do until you get something else. But if you lose your job, you guys have to understand that that's how people end up going homeless. Especially if you don't have any money saved up. It is very important to understand when it's time to move with a sense of urgency. And if you lose your job, first things first, you got to stop. You got to stop and think, how can I gain income? Now, if you have a clean criminal record, and this is why I always say it's important to have a clean criminal record, and you lose a job, you shouldn't care. Because at the end of the day, you could download DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart, multiple apps. You're probably thinking, but keep it simple, I don't have a car. You can rent a car. Every city, there are rental car services that provide a good rate. I suggest that you get insurance first and get on the road and start earning some money and get back in the game, because people don't realize that you can go homeless in the blink of an eye. You can go homeless in the blink of an eye. You could get scammed out of money, or you could get scammed out of investment and you could go homeless. And you think your landlord cares about the fact that you got scammed out of investment? There are so many factors. That's why it's so important when you have your health, when you have your strength, that you go hard no matter what. Life, ups and downs, highs and lows, peaks and valleys. What are you going to do about it? It's the real question. And I'm thankful that the guy shared that he lost his job, because when it's all said and done, anybody could lose a job. Anybody could lose a platform on the internet. Things happen. That's why it's so important to stack your crumbs and build your pie. While you have income, you should be saving money or making investments, vice versa. And I'm going to say this again, saving money or making investments. The thing about making investments, which is key, is if something happened to you, you already planted a seed and you already had investments. So at the end of the day, it's all about investments or saving. And if you could do both, that's a smart idea. But when you lose a job and you don't have a clean criminal record, suggestion number 2, go to a temp agency. Temp agencies, they hire felons, they hire people with all kind of cases, battery, burglary, misdemeanor, felon, you name it. The most notable temp agency I will say is probably Randstad. Manpower, you have a lot more depending where you're at. If you're in the South, there should be no excuses. There are warehouses all over the South, and get a temp job. Because a normal job, it takes time. Application, process, interview. But you guys have to understand, you have to pay your rent every 30 days. Now, if you live at home with your parents or if you live at home with family, disregard, you have time, you have a base. But if you're independent and you're out on your own and you lose your job, listen, times are critical. Times are critical. And I feel like anybody could lose a job. Somebody could lie on you. In this case, you could be sick for a week and can't make it. Anything can happen. But honestly, if you guys have a clean criminal record, I suggest that you guys just do gig work and work at your own convenience, work at your own time. If you do DoorDash or anything, start where you want to start. Instacart, start when you want to start. Uber, Lyft, start where you want to start. And you're more in control of your time. As far as a job, a 9 to 5, that was more like in the 90s, early 2000s. But gig work really opened up the game. If you don't like dealing with customers, I suggest do Instacart. Instacart is an app where you just go in, get groceries, get in, get out. If you like talking to people and you share the risks of random people getting in your car, Uber, Lyft, great job opportunity. If you don't like to see people, I suggest you do DoorDash, Grubhub, whatever's out there, and you just got to find something to generate money. And to everybody out there, shout out to Wise the Artist Eats. At the end of the day, also create content on the side. Create different streams of income. So if you lose one, it's not the end of the world. And I'm gonna say this again: if you lose one income, it's not the end of the world. In life, things happen. What are you gonna do about it? You can't go back in the past. The past is over. The best phrase in English is, there's no point of crying over spilled milk. So if you got fired, at the end of the day, either you're going to file a lawsuit for wrongful termination, call an EEOC, or you're going to move on. And the best option is, if you can file a lawsuit, file a lawsuit. If not, still move on, because it takes time to actually get a settlement or a payout. But when it's all said and done, it's so easy to end up on the streets. It's so easy to end up homeless. It just comes from non-performance. When you're not performing, easy. You could be homeless. And the first thing that I should have mentioned is, first of all, pray to God for a miracle, because you need a miracle. And second of all, file for unemployment. When you file for unemployment, chances are your company is not going to pick up the phone for unemployment. And chances are it buys you a little time and get you some unemployment. But when it's all said and done, you can't be walking around the streets homeless. It's real. The other day, I saw a guy walking around. He was homeless, and he was walking around with a bat in his hand. That's the homeless life. I don't judge, but at the end of the day, it's rough. So if you're not ready for a rough life, if you're not ready to walk around with a bat in your hand, if you're not ready to walk around and dig in the trash and eat, if you're not ready to walk around and get harassed by the police, if you're not ready to walk around and just be attacked while you're sleeping on the streets, stay focused before you end up homeless. It's so important to not worry about your emotions. Emotion over emotion. Things happen. It happens to good people. It happens to bad people. It happens to people in general. But when it's all said and done, if you lose any source of income, if you lose any source of money, when it's all said and done, you just have to get it back. You cannot sit for too long. You cannot daydream, and you cannot cry about the past. Lock in. 2025, pump up the volume, and this is just a mixtape.